your fireplace. You need this, you need a chimney sweep. The moment we say you need this is the moment that our company and ourselves became optional in the customer's mind. And so at that point, their mind instantly built a value expectation that goes with that. Because, oh, it's just that one thing. Well, first of all, where can they get that from? Any chimney company around, not that there's a lot of them, but that's the concept. So any chimney company can provide that. And so also they could do research on it. They could look it up on YouTube. They could figure out how to do it themselves. Not that they're going to be very good at it. But the thing is in today's society, the problem that we're running into is we've got Amazon, we've got YouTube, we've got Google. Now we have chat, we got GPT and all this kind of stuff. And what it's done is on an intellectual level, it's leveling the expert playing field. It's giving consumers the tools that we were the only ones that had at one point. And that's creating a problem because they don't have the skill, right? But because they have the tools of knowledge. Who's ever noticed that if you watch an expert do something, they make it look really easy? So all of a sudden they see a video on YouTube of somebody that's already good at it sometimes and doing something, and they're like, oh man, that's simple. I can do that quickly. But then you're asking $2,000 for it. And they're like, you're crazy. I can buy that for $200 online. The guy on YouTube did it in 25 minutes. I can do that too, even if it takes me 2 hours or all day. I'll be saving money. Does this make sense? So what does the new flat rate do? Well, we made some changes and we realized that part names and commodities had to come out of our pre-conversations with the customer. From the moment we show up to the job through the diagnostic stage until we're ready to present options, if we can keep those out of the conversation, then the customer's value expectation stays much higher. And so, because remember, we've all bought something in our life at one point that we would consider a lot of money. But you bought it with a smile and felt like it was a good deal because the value to you matched. Does that make sense? But there's somebody in the world that thinks you're nuts for it. Somebody says, you spent how much on that? So it's kind of like if you ever been like in video games or anything like that. Some of you look like maybe you did some video games, but some of those video games are pretty freaking expensive, and your parents probably didn't actually understand that. Like, you better spend $100 on that? Are you insane? But people spend things on what's valuable to them. I have a boat. In the world of finance, boats are the world's stupidest investment you could ever have. But in the world of awesomeness, they're totally worth it, totally worth it. So it's there. But once we understand this, then we can say, okay, well, what is the new flat rate? Well, the new flat rate, we have an app today that is designed to help you run our full process. Now, the full process, you guys either run here or you don't. It's a lot bigger than just what you get in our class, though. And so we built a process that we refer to as part of the service called Life Cycle, which is everything that happens in this company from the moment the phone rings until you complete that job out there. It's all the stages and steps and pieces that go into it, because we've learned that even the people that answer the phone can influence the ultimate outcome of this job. But more than anything, when it comes to things like price objections and value that's there in front of the customer, what we've learned is that is not only does every piece influence that, but we learned that customer value and expectation can be risen. We can raise it according to what we call concern. And also in the world of what's called cost versus price. But if we bring all that kind of together, we'll look at the app. I don't think you guys have your tablets in here. Does anybody have your tablets in here? No? Okay. Do you guys use tablets or on your phone? Tablets. We do need to grab those before you guys leave today because we did an update yesterday. Did you guys already get it? Did you download the update? You would have had to click download. Okay, we'll do that before we get out of here, Dick. It's just some new features and stuff that came up on the tablet. It's pretty cool. But when the anyway, when we built the new flat rate, we started by focusing on the customer's buying process, on how people buy. We focus on the psychology of what are the mental triggers that they have. And so, first of all, when a customer picks up the phone and calls a home service company like Comfort Class, doesn't matter for chimneys or for air conditioning, whichever one it is, but they're calling a professional. There is a number in their mind that they're expecting to pay for this. Does anybody know what that number actually is? A couple $100, $1,000 sometimes. So here's the thing. There's a couple of different scales to be aware of. It can help you out. But scale number one is where we've surveyed literally tens of thousands of consumers and asked them the question, when you call or have a home service professional come out to your house to fix anything, how much money is it going to cost you? The number one answer, the what answer? Number one answer, hang on, is $1,000 or more. Number one answer, $1,000 or more. And the reason being is because you are a skilled trade professional. You know who else is skilled trade professionals? Doctors. Doctors cheap or expensive? They're expensive. People know that. And so not only that, other skilled trades professionals are things like the Ford garage to get your car fixed. You know what the average repair ticket is in the Ford garage today, no matter why you bring your car in to get work done? Over $1,700. And you had to bring your car to them. They didn't have to come out to your house and get up on their rooftop and do all kinds of crazy things that were dangerous. They literally had a place where they got to sit all cushy with $1 million worth of tools in the nice warm air and and sit there and turn wrenches. Wasn't that freaking hard? But yet they have over $1,700 average ticket today. That's a big deal. And so the reason this matters is this is the instant expectation of consumers today. But there's another scale or value thought in their mind. And the other one is what we call their flash cash. And you see, in the customer's pocket today, they have a certain amount of money. And this money is their flash cash. It doesn't mean it's cash. It's, hey, this is the amount of money that if I spent it today on Comfort Class, it would not disrupt my livelihood at all. Does that make sense? All of you have that. It might be $50. It might be $500. But we do know that the average consumer in the United States, over 90% of them today, have less than $800 in that arena. And so it's a much smaller amount. But does that mean they can't spend more than that? No, they can spend a lot more than that. That actually has no influence on how much money they can spend today. All that is it's just saying, hey, if they could do it for this or less, I would be so happy. That's exactly what that means. I would just be so happy. And so I usually say, just for kicks and giggles, that number might be like $300 to $500 on average. This is the I'm so happy range. This is the it's probably going to be that, so I don't even know why I'm thinking about that range. But when we bring all this together, the reason it really matters is because the new flat rate, what we've done is we have started looking at this process, and we built an app that gives options. And all the options in the new flat rate are psychologically profiled, but they're designed to eliminate objections and lower sales resistance before they become objections in the customer's mind. And so have you all seen the options that in the tablets? So when it comes to those options, the thing about them is why they work. And so why they work, and let's not even worry about chimneys today. Let's not even worry about fireplaces or heating and air conditioning. Let's just look at this from a personal standpoint. Let's say that personally, if you were looking at a set of options to buy anything, but they were laid out like this and you had, say, 3 to 5 options available, but yet the option on the bottom was something like $500. Now, regardless of what it is for a minute, is $500 a lot of money? It is. Now, from a consumer standpoint, first of all, $500, we can relate that to time. And in order for you even to come up with $500 after tax, it took quite a bit of your life, didn't it? Like, you had a good portion of a week to be able to acquire that money. Your customer did as well. And so it's a lot of money. So sometimes you've told customers in the past even, hey, what you need is $500, and they maybe flipped out and pushed back on it because they're like, holy crap, you're crazy. I'm not spending $500 on that. But now with the new flat rate, we started looking at the psychology of, okay, well, what do customers really want? And so we realized that there's two things that are present that we need to be aware of. There is this thing called price. And then there's this other thing that we call cost. And when it comes to price versus cost in the world of a consumer, and this could be you as well, but price is how much money you're going to actually pay out of your wallet today. But cost is not money. What's the cost? It's the what? The total what? What's everything? Yeah, that goes into it. And even some money can go into it. But I want you to think about so don't think about it from the company standpoint. Think about it from the customer. So like if you have to go to the customer's house, whether they pay us money or not, what did it cost them? Cost them time. Now, where was that time supposed to be spent? Maybe work, maybe family, maybe frustration. Do you think when whatever you're there to fix broke down, there might have been some spousal arguments? I told you to get that fixed and you didn't fix it, you cheap ass. Now it's broken down and we're all going to die. What does that feel like? I don't know if you've ever been if you're in a relationship or ever have been with somebody like that, but all of a sudden when that conversation starts coming up, it doesn't feel real comfortable, does it? But have you ever been in an area, maybe not with an argument like that, but an area in your life where you just felt enormous pressure because you're just like, gosh, life is so tough right now. Something big is happening. I don't know how I'm going to overcome this. Have you ever just felt stressed and pressure in life? I know it's not fun, but that's called life, right? But the thing is that's cost. It's, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with this? I'm going to have to take off work, but I don't have any more days left to take off work. Richard's going to be mad at me if I take off work, but I'm going to have to do this. I got to get this taken care of. God, I got to do this. And sometimes we just put this pressure on us. All that pressure of everything that's influencing you today is cost. So anything associated to this situation for the customer, the fact that they're not at work, the fact that they've been waiting around for you all day to get there, the fact that they might have argued with their spouse, the fact that they don't know how they're going to pay for it, the fact that they this and this and this and this, all of those things are costs. So question, what does the customer want? A solution, but to what? But okay, let me go back to you. If you were living in a moment where there was something in your life, maybe it was a car, but let's call it something that you personally couldn't handle yourself, but it was creating enormous pressure, and it was creating arguments, it was creating missing days off of work, it was creating just frustration in your life, and you were going to seek out the help of a professional. What is it that you're actually seeking help for? What do you want to get out of this? That's right, you want relief. Now, the world of sales always had a term for this, and they called it peace of mind. I didn't understand what that meant for the longest. And until I really started relating it back to this overwhelming pressure in just different areas of my life. And I started realizing, holy cow, how much money would I pay, whether I had it or not, to get rid of that pressure in my life? Are you with me? And so how much would that be worth? And that's the world of cost. And what we've learned is cost influences time. It influences everything. But we learn that people will always pay more money if there's a way that they can experience total relief and peace of mind away from this situation. But peace of mind means that not only is the pressure gone today, but that it's not likely to what? Come back. And that's the trigger. See, I can just pay a little bit of money and boom, problem's gone. Yeah, but if it comes back again tomorrow, then the pressure is even worse, because then now I can add nickels and dimes to the top of that list, right? And it becomes a huge problem. And so we learned that one of the big issues that we have in the home service space is when it comes to parts and pieces and problems that we see as professionals in the customers' homes, is one of the big problems that we have is that we condemn parts and things when they're broken. Like, it's broke, so it's bad. But yet if it's working, a lot of times we call it good. Oh, it's working, no problem, you're good to go. It's like we'll go do a maintenance. Do you ever do like maintenance on air conditioners or anything? Fireplaces. So yeah, you go do a maintenance on it. You're like, oh yeah, it's working, no problem. But you see, that comes from a repair person. And from a repair person, since you have the ability to work on fireplaces, if you were working on your own fireplace, it's not that big a deal for you to just fix it today. If it breaks again later, you'll fix it then. It's not that big a deal. It's not disrupting your life, really, because you have the skills, talents, resources, and all that available to do it. But the thing is when it comes to your customer, that's different. When it comes to your customer, if that fireplace breaks, that means the mood for their date night goes down. And when the mood for their date night, they don't get what they wanted once every 6 months. They don't get that anymore. So now it just completely disrupts their whole world. And so it's really important that it works and that they have the peace of mind that they're going to hit that button and Barry White comes on, their fireplace lights, and everything's perfect. Does that make sense? And so here's the thing. Our industry focuses on things like it's broke, fix it. So when it comes to the options that the new flat rate built, our bottom option, it's designed to fix what broke. But I don't even like to say fix, because it really just fixes or replaces or repairs what we call the symptom. I don't think that's spelled right. Anyway, but the symptom. And the symptom is, hey, this piece failed. Okay, but there's a book called The Toyota Way, if you ever read it. But it's talking about the Toyota car manufacturing. And the Toyota car manufacturing is even today considered to be one of the greatest manufacturing companies in the world because of their processes. First of all, they've actively been one of the only car manufacturers in the world that when there's a problem, like the cars are going down the assembly line and a new tech that doesn't know what they're doing can't get a screw to go in the right spot, they have a button they can push and it stops the entire assembly line. And all of the managers from every department come over to help solve the problem. Well, but the point is why do they all come over? To get it right, because if something happens there, what's going to happen to the other things down the line? It could mess up the whole thing. But if something's happening here, it's likely because of something that was happening in the beginning. And so they come to it, they say, wait a minute, is this just a training problem for this person? Or do we have a defect down here? And they find what's called the cause. And so the Toyota Waste process is isolate the symptoms. The symptom is that screw's not going in the hole. Then it's locate the cause, correct the cause, correct the symptom. Does that make sense? Our industry don't do that shit. Our industry says, oh, that thing's broke, replace that, and we'll move on. And then how many of you have ever had to go back to that job 2 weeks later? Right? Why? Because we didn't fix the what? Didn't fix the cause. So at the new flat rate, we learned that we can have other options for the customer. And our bottom option is designed to take care of the symptom, but these premium options, they all focus on the cause. And so let's make sure that we're taking the time, the resources to take care of whatever might have been the reason why it failed. Sometimes a part failed because it's old. Well, but if the part failed because it's old, all the other parts around it are old too, aren't they? And so the likelihood of those failing are high or low, are very, very high. And so I bring all this together because through different research and testing, we found that when we bring the customer options in this manner, and we give the customer 5 options when possible, but our options are built so that our top option is focused on relieving the customer's cost, on delivering complete peace of mind. We do that by taking and solving all of the possible causes in this area. So like if we're working on that fireplace, it would rebuild and clean and service and calibrate absolutely every component that we can possibly touch on that fireplace would have gotten touched so that we know that when we leave, it's not going to have a problem. If this was a gas furnace and we were there because the flame sensor was dirty, not only would we put a new flame sensor on, we would put a new igniter on, we'd clean out the burners, we'd probably clean out the heat exchanger, we would do the rollouts, we would pull and clean the blower, we would vacuum out the secondary heat exchanger, and we would just literally touch every single piece on that furnace so that we know when we leave there is not a chance that it's going to break again for a very, very long time. Question. Would that be expensive? It would be expensive, and you guys have seen it before, but the thing is, if we're going to do all that, maybe my top option is like $2,000. But if I have a top option that's $2,000 and it does all that versus a bottom option that's $500 that only replaces one part that already broke, which one's really more valuable? Top is always more valuable, right? Because what else does it do? Well, it's pretty much guaranteeing it's not going to break again. It's not going to have another problem. You're going to be set and good to go for a long time. And so the reason I bring all this up is this works in the world of what's called the law of connections. There's a book by Michael Lozier, The Law of Connections, and he talks about these psychological rules. And so not only does our top option bring amazing relief for your customers if you'll allow it to and you believe in it, but the thing else it does is it provides what's called contrast. And contrast says if you've ever had a customer get upset at like $500, it's usually because we walked in and said, hey, we can fix it. It's going to be $500. And it was take it or leave it, which means you backed him into a corner. And if a customer ever feels backed into a corner, what are they going to do? They're going to fight. Like it's just a natural instinct, isn't it? Like if you feel like somebody is forcibly saying, you don't have a choice, get over there, Mike Day, that's where you belong, you're going to be like, dude, I'll knock your damn teeth out right now. It doesn't happen. And so with this, the law of contrast looks at the difference. And it says, hey, if I put all my focus as a trade professional on our best, and it says, hey, you know what? What's your name again, Chase? Cody. Sorry, who's Chase? Is Chase? No, wrong company. Cody. All right. Cody, if you want to, if you went to a customer and you said, hey, Mr. Customer, here's the deal. I've got some options today, to take care of my concerns. My top option, it's the best. It's the one that allows me to take care of all my concerns with what you got going on here, so that I know that you're not going to have this problem again. So that's really the one I like to do for everybody that I can, because it's just kind of a one and done thing. But if we do that, it's going to be the most expensive. It's $2,000. That's why I have some cheaper options for the other budgets if you need them. What should we do? And the thing is instantly what happens? Well, the customers can look at this and they look at 2,000 and then the 500. Well, now instantly that 500, what does it look like next to the 2,000? Looks cheap. And so, but because it's cheap, it provides two things. What it provides is relief. Well, I didn't have $2,000 today, so at least I can get it done for $500. But next to Cody's concerns about, hey, with everything going on, my top option really allows me to take care of all my concerns. So you just don't have to worry about it again. So next to that, the bottom option also provides what's called risk. And risk says what? Well, it could happen again. So instantly when they look at the risk factor, their attention goes back to cost and they ask themselves the question, how much risk am I willing to take on? And so then the customer can make their decision to move down from your more premium options. See, we're never trying to upsell. If you ever go in with a new flat rate and you start down here and try to push them up, it's not going to work because you're trying to upsell them. Sales resistance goes up with it. But when we start up here about how this is the one that takes care of Cody's concerns so that they just don't have to worry about it again, then all of a sudden they can choose to take on risk by lowering price. And so the thing is, I don't care how low they want to go with the price, as long as they know that the risk is loading onto them at the same time. Because when it breaks again, whose fault is it? It's the customer's. It's important that they understand that, right? That this isn't about Matt didn't do a good job. This is about you chose to take a risk, and that's okay. It's your money, not mine. I really don't care which option the customer takes. Does that make sense? But I care that they know which one is the best and is going to last the longest. And so I need to make sure that they understand that. So it provides relief and it provides risk. So here's what we learned. We learned that instinctively, everywhere we've tested, there's only about 10% of the customer base or less that you run into that literally does not have a choice but to take the bottom option. That's just, it's all the resources they have today. That's 10% or less of your customer base. And so we know that given the ability to, over 90% of them will choose a higher option. If you don't influence that at all, then generally the number is about 20% will take the bottom just because they just like, just do the minimum. But if you just give them a little bit of reason, like, hey, because of what's going on here today, we definitely recommend the bronze and higher if you at all can. Then 90% will choose bronze and higher pretty much every single time. And so that's there. But instinctively, the only people that are going to take the bottom option are ones that's either that all they can afford, or they're just in a hurry. They're like, hey, just take care of that. I got to get back to work. We'll do something else later if it breaks again, type of thing. And so people want to live higher than that. Generally speaking, 20% is our target for up here, but I do have techs that see 40 to 50%. Some of them even up to 60% of their customers will actually take the more premium option, just the one on top, based on your recommendation that this is the one that takes care of what? Everything. Just don't have to worry about it again. It's a giant reset button, right? Goes a long ways. But the thing is with that, we find that we're happy if in these middle three options, 60% or more of your customers will land in here. Now, again, if this was you, it didn't have anything to do with your skill set, nothing that you could fix yourself, but you were going to, go buy something or take a professional's help, but you were in a situation where there was pressure on your life because of this thing. How many of you would just instinctively go to the bottom? In what context? Okay. I'm glad you say that, though, because it's important to know that we're all our worst customer. And so using yourself as, well, I wouldn't do that, is always a bad idea. You can't use yourself because you have skills, talents, and abilities that they don't have. And so you view things differently than your customer. And I want you to understand, Cody, that's not a bad thing. So I'm not upset that you answered that. I usually expect somebody to say that, but I do want you to change your focus a little bit, because I want you to understand that even you that you say, oh, I usually just do the cheap thing, get it by and keep going. There's at least one area in your life today that that's not true. Whether you share that or not, but every single one of us has at least one area that we always buy the best. That could be cars, could be guns, could be houses, could be food, could be healthcare. Belt buckles. He wins them. But the thing is, there's at least one thing in your life that you do buy more quality. Can everybody agree on that? Because it's what's important to you. And so the difference is with you and your customer, things that are important to you might be different. But the one thing that's universally important to everybody is time. Because we can't make more time. We can all make more money. And sometimes I make it sound too easy, but money's not hard to make. If you need more, it's pretty easy. Especially with the resources that the new flat rate brings to you, you can make a lot of money. And so money's not hard to make. It's time that you can't make up. And so when we understand that, our customers, have to do that. But like, Cody, do you have kids? So do they live with you? So the point is like, even you, if you go home today, hope it doesn't happen, but something was broke with your heating system or your fireplace, whatever, the thing is you have the ability to just go work on it, right? And you might do a cheaper thing. It doesn't matter which one you do, but what I got to realize is where are your kids probably when you're doing that? Probably with you, hanging out, handing you tools, which means, well, but the point is even though that might be a little frustrating for you, the fact that something broke isn't taking away from your life. It's actually kind of adding to it, because I don't know all of your backstories, but like for me, I remember like I got taught how to change the oil on a car when I was probably 10 years old, and you crawl under the car with one of your relatives and they showed you how to do that. And we started learning how to work with our hands and things like that. But see, those are memories that are valuable. Ironically enough, a lot of consumers that call us don't know how to change the oil in your car. They never had somebody crawl under the car with them. One of my best friends in high school had a terrible family life. And I remember he went to change his engine oil, and he had a 5-speed pickup truck, and he drained the gear lube from the clutch, whatever it is, the differential. He drained that instead and ended up fucking up his truck, because he didn't have anybody to show him out. He was just trying to figure it out himself. The guys at the auto parts store, it's like, oh, yeah, you just take that screw out and dump it, and here you go do it. And he screwed it up. But the point is your customers are the same way. They don't have the experiences that we have. And then when they have problems, it doesn't add to their home life. It takes away from it. Because now they had to meet you during work when their kids are still at school, which means that this vacation that's coming up, they're not going to get to go because they don't have any more time off. So now their kids get to go to the beach without them. And stuff like that is piling up. Does that make sense? So just keep in mind what Cody said. We're all our worst customer, but if we shift the focus, we do have at least one area that we could see the benefit in spending more money. Now, if it's just because we're cheap, then we have another problem, but it's a personal growth issue. And the personal growth issue says that what you're missing is vision. And vision is a personal goal in life that you want to accomplish. Because in order to accomplish certain things, like I had a guy that worked for me that his vision was he wanted more time off. So he wanted to take 6 weeks off a year, six weeks vacation. And I was like, you can do that. He says, well, we only get 1 week because I'm new. I said, that's not true. You can take as much time off as you want. I said, you just got to sell more the rest of the time to pay for it. I'm not going to pay you, but you can make enough. And I did the math with him to show the variance of what he had to hit in order to be able to afford to do that. And you know what? He did it. Why? It was important to them. You know, I've had literally had texts before that said, well, I want to work like 6 months a year. If I could take like half the year off, that would be great. And you might say, are you crazy? I've seen them do it. You know what it takes to take 6 months off? Make $1 million in 6 months. Like bring in $1 million in 6 months, you can have the rest of the year off. Nobody gives a shit. Why? Because there's enough money. You would have made enough. You wouldn't have to stick around for the rest of the year. They can give your van to somebody else for 6 months, come back in 6 months, pick it up again. Does that make sense? And so, but the thing we're missing if we can't see the value in what I'm talking about is we're missing vision, because those situations aren't impacting your vision. You're not running into them saying, oh shit, that's going to keep me from being able to do that. Your customer's vision is peace of mind. You know, my vision and your vision can be completely different. And I agree, money is not everything at all. But we are in a world that trades money for currency. What does that mean? It means whatever your vision is, whatever you want in life, you can map a course to it that way. It's not that that thing even costs money. It's that it'll influence things around you to be able to do it faster. Like one of my big missions is actually orphans. I grew up in a family where my mom taught us that it's our responsibility to take care of widows and orphans. And so I'm working towards to be able to help more orphans from Haiti. Actually, I have 17 cousins that were adopted from Haiti. And so that's a big thing in my family. But it's very expensive. I mean, you want to acquire, kids from another country, you got to deal with cartels, you got to deal with all kinds of things. Not only that, there's kids over there dying that need funding and things like that. And so it's things that, hey, if that's a mission for me, that's my push to say, hey, I need to make more money so that I can protect more children. It's just expensive. I wasn't called to the field of saying, let me jump on a plane and go over there and fight the battle myself, but I can pay for it. Does that make sense? And so all this stuff goes hand in hand. So as we built this out with the new flat rate, what I want you to understand is this whole process is designed to just completely obliterate the resistance from the customer so that they can look at you and actually recognize your skills, talents, and abilities. Actually recognize what you're trying to do for them. How many of you actually want to help your customers? I do, But the thing is if you want to help them, what are the things that get in our way today? People thinking we're trying to rip them off. All right? Because, question for you, is shit expensive? Yeah. Just one question from about February 21 to July last year. Does anybody know what the average material increase was in the home service industry? It was darn close. It was about 85%. So 85% in a 3-year span. That's a lot. All right. Prior, how many of you have been in the industry over 5 years? Cody? Okay, most of you haven't. All right, so prior to that, Cody, do you remember what the average material increase was year over year? That would have been, you would have literally had distributors burnt to the ground. It was 3 to an absolute murder somebody if it ever hit 6. Like it was a distributors would raise prices a maximum of 3% at a time. If they ever went to 5%, they were losing customers left and right. It was a major deal. And so now over a 3-year period, it went up 85%. Is that a big difference? Drastic difference. And so what we got to realize is if all the materials went up 85%, what else do you think went up? Everything. Not just our sales prices, insurance in the home service space has doubled for most companies in the last 3 years. Doubled. Gas sometimes goes up. I'd never count gas because gas is just like this all the time. According to who's in office, doesn't make much sense at all. But you've got vehicles. What happened to vehicle prices? It's crazy, isn't it? You want to see some fun math? Watch the trend from the 1950s of vehicle prices compared to what income that people made at the difference. And it's like this. Like all of a sudden vehicle prices now are like average vehicle price is like 3 times somebody's annual income, whereas back then it was almost on par. It was like you could buy a car for what your annual income was, but now it's like 3 times higher on average. It's just insane. And so the thing is you've got all those things going on. And so I want you to understand that the price itself, it's the price. It's not something that we have to be afraid of. It's not something that we have to worry about. But the price is a resource. So there's a saying that Tony Robbins always uses, if you know who he is, and he says there's no such thing as a lack of resources, just resourcefulness. And so when it comes to things like a customer that doesn't have enough dollars to pay the price, that's not a price issue. It's a resource issue. And so we either have resources that can help them pay the price or we don't. Is there, is that something for us to get upset about? No. Is it something that we have to change the price over? Nope. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's their problem. We're here to help. Here's the resources I have to help you. That's how it works. If you let me help you, I will. If you don't, I can't. So like financing. Do you guys have financing? So who does not like to finance things personally? Me? I don't like it. But question, how many of you ever had something in your life broke last minute? You didn't have the money to do it. You had to have it. And you were grateful that you were able to acquire some financing to get it done. Which means financing is just a tool. It's not good or bad. It's just a tool that we leverage sometimes. Does that make sense? Now, question, what's the number one form of payment by consumers today? Credit cards. What is credit cards? It is the highest interest financing on the planet. Credit cards today have interest rates of up to 36% APR. All right, that is insane. Question, do you have any finance options through your lenders that are lower interest than that? So are those good? But because nobody looks at their actual credit card percentage. Because when do you see it? It's in that letter somewhere, but they never actually look at it. But the thing is I always just remind them. I say, hey, we have some great finance options available. We've got financing available as low as 3 times less interest than your average credit card is today. You're like, really? Absolutely. And so is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing. Now, we're not here to put them into debt. That's their choice. Because what we learned is if they don't buy it from us, they're going to do what? They'll buy it from somebody else. And if they don't buy it at all, they just do without, we know that they're going to spend the money somewhere else. Because the average customer, the amount of money in their savings account never actually goes up. Which means that whatever amount of money they keep there, once it's there, they spend everything else off. They just do that. So anyway, I don't know if this was helpful today. Did any of this help anybody? So here's the thing. With the new flat rate, I wanted to give you a couple of pointers this morning, and then we'll do some updates on your app, and then I'll ask if you guys have any questions. But when it comes to your presentation with the customer, some of the pointers that I have for everybody is the fact that we only present one option. What is the option that we present? The top. Now, we present all of them, but we only read one of them. We only put the emphasis on one of them, which is the top one. Everything else is the customer's decision. The worst thing you could do is read the whole page to the customer, because what's going to happen? They get bored, they zone out. In the world of, so for whatever reason, and I was like this for years too. I always hated the term sales. Just hated the term sales, like pushed back like it's a bad name or something. It's really not. The world of sales is really just your ability to communicate, right? And so today, I don't consider myself to be a great salesman at all. I consider myself to be an excellent communicator because I have literally worked my entire career to become that. But when it comes to communicating, it's important to know that the communication that's happening between two people, there's always three things going on. Whether we're in person, whether we're through text messaging, or whether we're on the phone, there's three pieces to communication. There's body language, voice inflection, and words. Now, body language makes up 55% of the communication. Body language, the majority of which is not just our posture, it's our what? It's our facial expressions. And so, have you ever been talking to somebody and they just looked like they didn't want to be there? Well, if you don't look like you want to be there, what does the customer not want? They don't want you to be there either. They're like, this person doesn't care about me. Just get the hell out of my house. And so body language is so important. But then there's tonality. Tonality is, are you talking fast or slow? Do you have pauses and breaths? Are you talking high or low? And so there's a tonality. Tonality controls empathy. Empathy shows that we care about a customer. Empathy shows that it's a big deal, like it's urgent, it's needed, those types of things. And then there's the words that we say. So this is the problem with text messaging. If you text somebody, do they see your body language? Do they hear your tonality? Yes, they do. But but what? It's their own. It's an assumptive. They're looking at it and they're thinking, God, this person's yelling at me. And you weren't. You just happened to have hit the caps lock button and you were typing and getting shit out there, right? But it's funny. I have a text message in my pocket from my brother about something that I could read you, and I read it with annoyance and anger and yelling almost. And I read it to one of the guys that work with me last week, and he looks at me kind of funny, and I'm like, if you knew my brother, that's exactly how that sounds. But the thing is, in reality, he might not have been thinking like that, and it would completely change the meaning of it. It could be that he was just in a hurry and just typed it out. But my brother's a fucking dick. And so when I read it, I just put that into it. I'm like, I know what the fuck I'm doing, man. Thanks. That's what's going on. So excuse my language there, but that's the way he talks. Does that make sense? But yet I didn't talk to him on the phone, so I don't really know. He wasn't in front of me, so I don't really know. But that's what happens with text messages. That's what happens with emails and all of that. And so there's always those three things going on. And so my first, pointer to you guys today is recognize that when you're presenting to a customer, those things are happening. So what are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are the words that they're absorbing? When it comes to the words, people can talk really fast, but it takes them a second to absorb what's being said. And so one of my biggest pointers, if you want to have a better relationship with customers, with more happy customers, less angry customers, and even make more money along the way, is slow down and insert pauses. I was taught by my coach to insert pauses by literally saying a portion of the sentence, taking a deep breath and counting to 3. It feels really weird. But what happens is if I go in and I say, what's your name again? Tyler, that's right. Say, hey, Tyler, you got a minute? All right. Well, Tyler, I just want to let you know I took a look at your furnace in there, and I'm a little concerned. Tyler, I'm concerned because when I got here, you told me that the furnace wasn't working. It had been making a loud noise, and honestly, I was hoping that I would go in there and there was just something sucked into the fan that I could pull out, get you back on going real quick. But unfortunately, when I got in there, there's a lot more going on with it, and I don't know if you were prepared for it today. So I'm just wondering, you want to talk about what it's going to take to fix this the right way so you just don't have to worry about it again? Are you sure? All right, let's talk. And so the thing is, I don't have to dump it all out there, just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Are you with me? Because it's not a big conversation. You don't have to have an hour's worth of communication to get a customer to say yes. You literally have 2 to 5 minutes worth of words is all you need. And then outside of that, you just need to increase that to give them the time to absorb it. But he's in charge of how much that is. I'm kind of watching his interaction, how fast he's going to respond to me. But I want to make sure that I don't just word vomit. Because there's this saying in the world of sales communication that says if I give too much information too fast, then it creates confusion and chaos. It shouldn't be, because it shouldn't be, because Mike, when it comes to your customer, what do we know about them? They called you for what? Yeah, so they want to say yes, don't they?
Yes.
So why do we have to give them all of your years worth of information in 5 seconds? Truth of the matter is, we don't, because they don't want to know. And so one thing that I've got to hammer in all the time to me is stop trying to teach the customer my job. It's like, but I like my job. I want to talk about my job. Hey, look at all the awesome things we do. But they just don't care. Because if they wanted to know about your job, what would have they have done? Well, they could ask for sure, but they also could have went and got an apprentice, and they could have done this themselves. But at the end of the day, they didn't want to. They want to do whatever they do. And so I like this saying that says people know an awful lot of what they people know an awful lot of what they know an awful lot about, but they're in charge of that. Does that make sense? You just don't need to. But the thing is they'll say yes. I'll twist their arms if I have to, if I miss something. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I'm passionate about getting them to say yes. I just know that you don't generally have to if you started in the beginning and really built the concern ahead of time. Does that make sense? So the pointers are control your body language, control your tonality, and then make sure you're putting in pauses so that they can absorb what you're saying. Because if you're talking too fast and they don't absorb it, doesn't matter what you know. It does absolutely nothing for you. It just creates confusion, and a confused mind says no. And so then outside of that, when it comes to the new flat rate and your options, the thing is we're only focusing on the top one when we're actually talking to the customer. Now, there's a few different ways to present the options. If you've seen them, they look kind of like this. A few different ways to present. The best way that gets the highest option selected and the lowest amount of resistance and lowest amount of questions is if we just read the top option to the customer. But don't try to decipher every single line on it. So when we read it, it wouldn't be like, hey, this comes with a flame sensing system renovation. Mr. Customer, what that means is we're going to change your flame sensor. So we don't do that. You don't decipher it back. That just creates confusion, and then they're like, why are you even doing this? What we got to realize is the new flat rate uses some words. If you haven't seen it, the words we use are a little bit different than industry jargon. The reason being, these words are psychological triggers. They're actually value words that your customer understands. You might say, Matt, people don't understand those. They do. But what they understand isn't the parts and pieces. They understand the relief that these phrases are going to bring to them. So like when I talk about my top option here, it says, hey, this is a complete flame ignition and safety system renovation. What does that mean to a customer? New flame. So it's going to what? It's going to work. So it's going to work, and it's going to be what? And it's going to be safe. If we're dealing with gas and fire, what does the customer want? They want it to be safe, and when they push the button, they want it to what? So do they understand that? They don't need to know what we're going to do with that, because they didn't call you saying, hey, I need a flame sensor and a pilot body for my fireplace. That's like less than 1% of the phone calls this company gets is that. The thing is the 99% of them said, I need help because my fireplace isn't working and I smell gas. That's a problem, right? And so they want it to work. They want it to be safe. And so those are the type of phrases that we use. And so when they say, well, yeah, what do you got going on in the beginning? Our presentation is very simple. It's just, all right, Tyler, well, here's the deal. I'm a little concerned because while I checked out that fireplace, I found some faults in the flame ignition system. This is a concern of mine because it's operating outside of our safety standards. And if it's not taken care of properly, not only could it continue to be a problem for you in the upcoming seasons, but there's always the risk of it spilling gas and stuff when it's not lighting like it's supposed to. And so I don't want you to worry about it, because I do have some options for you that's going to allow us to take a proactive approach on it and kind of reset that whole area so you just don't have to worry about it again. Would you like to go over them now? Well, Tyler, here's the deal. My top option, it's the most premium, and it's the most permanent. It's the one that's really going to allow me to take my time, do a great job, and ultimately give you the best warranty. But not only that, it's going to allow me to just rebuild and reset that whole area to take care of all of my concerns with your fireplace there today, so that you don't, not only does it work, but hopefully you won't have to deal with this again for a long time. Sidebar, what did I just tell them we're going to take care of? Everything, which, yep, which is where? I just told them that their cost is going to be alleviated, and so they're going to experience peace of mind. You can use the phrase peace of mind. A lot of sales guys do. I don't find that I have to, as long as I tell them that, hey, we're going to do this so that hopefully you're not going to have to worry about this again for a long time. That brings the peace of mind. I'm not going to be fighting with my spouse over this and things like that. So then I'll say, if we do that option, I'm going to go in and we'll do a complete flame ignition and safety system renovation. Tyler, that's going to come with our 2-year limited warranty on everything we do with it today, as well as a 1-year safety inspection. What that means is about a year from now, myself or another tech will come out here. We'll go over everything we did today, make sure everything's holding, nothing's slipping. If any of the parts or pieces that we're working on today are operating out of spec at that time, we're actually going to replace them proactively, and it's not even going to cost you anything, because I want to make darn sure this thing lasts like we promised. Now, from there, we're going to do some performance and safety testing on it. I'll do a main control system rejuvenation, a full system service restoration, and a flame sensing system renovation. Like I said, that one takes care of all my concerns. But it is the most expensive. That's going to be this one right here. It's going to be $1,631. But take a look. We have these other options. However, Tyler, because of what you got going on here today, I really do recommend the bronze or higher, especially up here, if you can. What should we do? Does that make sense? Was that a lot of words? Was it difficult? What did I focus on? On their needs, on the cost. What was it about my presentation that you understood? Peace of mind. What were some physical things I was trying to do? I was using body language to point at things. What else was I doing? How fast was I talking? Not very fast. That's probably the most difficult thing for me, is slowing myself down like that. I've got to really, really control myself. Sometimes I'll catch myself talking too fast in front of the customer, so I'll stop and I'll take a breath. I'll say, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer. I had, a lot of times I haven't ate lunch when that happens. And so I'll say, I actually haven't had lunch right now, and I'm feeling myself a little bit anxious for some reason. I'll say, do you mind if I just take a breath and start over real quick. They'll say, yeah, that's fine. And I'll just take a deep breath. And you know what they'll do? They'll take one with you. And you can feel the pressure just kind of drop. And I'll just start over. I'll say, all right, here's my concerns. This is what we're going to do. And then generally every time I've done that, they end up going with the premium option. But if I push through it and just keep going, if I'm talking too fast, then they take a lower option because the value wasn't there. And so it's there. Thing is, you can have be the best service technician in the industry that delivers more value than everybody else, but yet the customer doesn't buy it because they don't get your value ahead of time because of how we're communicating. Does that make sense? Goes a long ways. But nothing else on the page needs to be talked about unless the customer asks. You know, if they ask you a question, we'll answer it. You know, we focus on honesty and integrity. It means, hey, you know what? If they got a question, we can answer it. We're not hiding anything from them. But the words and things we use are not to hide things from the customer. This whole process is actually to make it easier for the customer so that they're not getting confused on commodities. So they're not tagging a mental thought of that's only worth $5. You're trying to screw me over. Instead, they're able to focus on the fact that we came to help them. Yes, I want you to help. I can give you this much resources for you to help me. And that's the whole conversation. And so ultimately, our mission is to help service technicians like all of you do two things. Number one, become the trusted advisor for your customers. When you become the trusted advisor, the pressure disappears. And we're just having a conversation, you know, front porch sit drinking lemonade, talking to the customer type of thing on how we can help them. And then, you know, number two, my big push is my goal is to help service trade professionals in every piece of the company make more money. And I'm not just talking about a little bit. Our actual mission statement as the new flat rate is that we keep families together. And even though that sounds odd for a pricing company, do you know what the number one trigger for spousal arguments is today? It's money. It's just financial pressure. And so with that, we work to help every person in the trade industry make enough money to support their family without their spouse having to work. And if your spouse works, that's okay. But that should always be the gravy money, right? That's just extra play money, beach money, whatever. But we want you to be able to do it without having to work a ton of overtime as well. Now, we're in a emergency-driven world, so sometimes we got to work some extra hours. Are you with me? I don't mind working a little extra now and then, but if you have to work 60 hours a week just to pay rent, Mike, life sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. And with rent prices now, that's a big deal. And so I'm thrilled that we have more technicians than pretty much any program I've ever ran into that are over the six-figure point in their income brackets, which is awesome, which is generally where you got to be nowadays in order to really be able to have a life that falls into those parameters of, you know, spouse not having to work and not having to work a bunch of overtime or take a bunch of extra stuff to do it. You generally in most markets need to be well over 85,000 a year to be able to accomplish that. I don't know what it's like here, but you know, something to think about. But that's one of our missions. And we don't want to do it by quote unquote screwing over the customer. We want to do it by delivering massive value that lowers their cost so that they feel like they came out on top and that it was a good choice. Does that make sense? Yeah. Richard had asked me to talk about some different stuff, but because he didn't give me enough time, we're not going to have that much time. So I just wanted to open it up. With all that being said, any questions about things that you can use, tips and tricks, things that you might want to improve on with your process with the new flat rate today? What are you guys seeing out there? The chimneys? Okay. I got you.
It's not a new flat rate issue. It's a price point issue because we just don't. It's not in there, and if it's not, if we look at it, there's not differentiating mandate. All the same verbiage basically. Yeah. So for a new guy coming in, they're not going to sell flat. No, it's not going to happen because they're not going to be able to explain to the customer why flat is not so effective. There's a way to go about it.
Okay. Adam, take notes, please. First of all, I don't take offense. So you don't have to worry about anything there. When it comes to back-end content, we'll look at it and we'll work with Richard and see if there's anything we can do to show more value in your tech handbooks and things to help you. Because we always want to help you guys set up to succeed in case a customer asks a question. Are you with me? So now, can I fix that problem today? I can't, but I can help you today with your presentations for all of you that are here. And so there's a few things that I want you to just take into the core. And so first of all, we talk about the top option. That's the one that we present to the customer. That's the one we build value on. Why? Why is that the option that I would love for every customer to be able to take? Because it's what? Most premium? Yeah, because it's the most money. Now just think about this for a second. It's not because Matt's greedy though. I told you when I got here that it's always my focus, and I want it to be yours, to where when I go on a job, I want to work until I can say I'm proud of the work that I did. I wouldn't do it any differently, and this customer got their money's worth and then some. Now, I've built my career on understanding value and going above and beyond. Right? And so it takes time, and I recognize that and understand that, and that's okay. But what I want you to understand is the top option is always a great option. There's never a time that we should take it off the table. There's never a time that it's not the best option for the customer to take, because it's always the one that gives me the most money so that I can do the most for them. I come from a different industry than you. I come from an industry called building science. Building science is we focus on diagnosing what's called sick home syndrome, which is houses that are killing people. And ironically enough, that's a lot, right? A lot. Matter of fact, it's like 83% of all respiratory illnesses are a direct result to the air we breathe in our home or workplace. And so the thing is people that have these chronic illnesses that are literally killing them are usually due to the fact that they live in a home in 2025. Like just because of off-gassing and everything. And so, but there are times when I have taken checks from customers for over $50,000 and I didn't know what we were going to do to help them. You'd be like, how could you take a check for $50,000 and not be able to help somebody? No, I know I can help somebody. Are you with me? I know that we can help them. I know that we can change their life. I said I didn't know how we were going to. And you might say, why? Well, because building science is the world of, it's according to what the home goes through over the course of a span of time even. So we don't always know what the triggers are, but what my company did know is physics. We know that hot goes to cold, wet goes to dry, and high pressure goes to low pressure. And if we control air exchanges, we can get rid of VOCs. With those four things, I can fix almost any unhealthy problem in any building, whether I know what the problem is today or not. It just might take some time. And so, but the thing is I knew that for $50,000, we could change that person's life. Does that make sense? But when they wrote the check for 50 grand, you know what happened? They started to experience relief because it's, all right, here you go. Here's the check. Now it's your problem. You deal with it. Help make this place livable for us. And now where's the responsibility? It's on me. So now I got to work and I got to figure out, hey, okay, let's design something that's going to help this customer out. But you know what I knew at that point? I had $50,000 to work with. Are you with me? I knew for $50,000. Did I know if I could solve it? No, but I knew I could make it better. And that's the thing. And so with this, your top option, that's what it is. It's always the one that gives us the most money to just do the most for them. And so I off the bat, I just want everybody to understand that. Does everybody know that? Okay. So once we understand that, then we can look at this. So to your question there, well, what's in the options? Or it doesn't really say. I want you to fall back on this. Read the tech handbook because sometimes there is a difference. We'll work with Richard to get even more clarity on things you guys can do. But you're like the new guys and stuff. Right. But I'm going to show you right now. So the difference between the options is always this. When it comes to the bottom option, the bottom option is our minimum. It focuses on symptom correction. So symptom fix. But when it comes to the single, we can call it one thing. So it's hey, this is the thing that's broke. We're just going to take care of that. Does everybody understand that? But sometimes you go into a job where there's more than one thing going on. Who's ever seen those? So in which case, the Band-Aid might not even work. The bottom option may not be a fit, so to say, because that's what it is. Is it called basic in the chimney book? Okay, Band-Aid's better, but anyway, it's up to you. And so the thing is we call it a Band-Aid because of what a Band-Aid is. So we use the term Band-Aid for a reason. The reason we use the term Band-Aid is not because it's a negative issue. It's because, first of all, a Band-Aid is a high-quality item. I know people don't always think about that, but if it wasn't for the Band-Aids being invented, they say that half of us wouldn't exist today because the more people were dying from simple infections because of with not having resources to cover wounds and things than anything else. And so a Band-Aid was actually the world's first sterile gauze available to the public. And so it's actually a great item. But the reason that matters is what I want you to understand is a Band-Aid's job, we can put it on, and its job is just to keep stuff from falling out, keep stuff from getting in. But the thing is if you had a cut, should you probably do something else before you put a Band-Aid on it? And that's the thing. Same thing down here. If all I do is focus on the one symptom that's having a problem, is there a risk that something else can go wrong? Always. And so in which case, the bronze and higher is always where we want to play. Not because there's a quality issue with the Band-Aid, there's a quantity issue. If I can only do one thing, how do I even know what the other risks are? And so when the customer's able to look at the bronze, the difference between the Band-Aid and the bronze is the bronze includes everything that we do in the Band-Aid. Does everybody understand that? It includes everything that we do in the Band-Aid. And then, hey, thank you. And then do me a favor and everybody say plus. All right? The plus is plus time. If we're on a small standard repair, it's always going to be at least another 25 minutes. All right? And so it's plus time plus resources. Did I break it?
No. I'm just making the screen not mirroring. It looked like it went away.
No, it's not a big deal. We're almost done. But here's what the bronze is. The bronze gives us more time. But I want you guys to understand that the difference between the Band-Aid and the bronze is not always listed out real clearly in the technician handbook. Adam's been working with our different tech handbooks lately to try to add more clarity to it. But the reason is because we're not there. You're there. But Mike, what I want you to understand is the bronze always gives us more time and resources to take care of what we call the next most likely failure. So the next most likely failure is what? Well, it's like if we're there working on a fireplace. You said you work on a fireplace, and I'm there, and the flame sensor is dirty. Okay, well, you could replace that flame sensor, but what's the next most likely failure? Well, it just depends. Maybe it's dirty. Maybe the pilot needs to be cleaned out, right? Maybe it hasn't been serviced. And so, but if you were there in front of one and you were able to assess the overall condition, could you probably make an educated guess? And so that's what it's saying, is it's saying, hey, take care of everything we were doing on the Band-Aid, plus try to say, okay, what's the next most likely thing that could cause a problem? And what this does is it eliminates possible callbacks. Would you agree? So if we had more money, could we do something extra to make something last longer for a customer? How many of you do like chimney sweeps? All right. Now, I don't know what the difference is, what you normally do on the bronze, but the question is there value in running your sweep machine through one more time? Will it clean better? It's just perfect one pass. Do you have another sweep? Okay, but you do have other things you could do better, right? So maybe you wouldn't do it at that. Maybe it would need to come up here. But the point is you have a better version, a better clean. Chimneys aren't my thing. But that's the point. And so what we're doing is we're stacking. We're saying, hey, what's the next most likely thing that could help this job? Here's more time, more money. If we're talking about basic repairs, it might be an extra $300. If we're talking about a chimney reline or something, it might be an extra $3,000. But if you had an extra $3,000, could we do something to really make sure when we leave this job, we're not super worried about it? Somebody following that? What is the silver? Well, this middle option we can refer to as the silver is designed to increase what we would call performance. And so performance includes everything in the Band-Aid, everything in the bronze, and everybody say plus. Plus increasing performance. And so what we mean by that is how can we make it work better than it was before it failed? And so on this note, for example, I don't know what kind of chimneys you're dealing with, but I know some of them have gas logs, some of them might be wood burning. But the thing is let's say, for example, we were working on one that has gas logs, and then you were cleaning the chimney or redoing the line or whatever, but they took that silver level. Well, maybe we could do a full service and maintenance on the logs at the same time to make sure that they're burning properly, not sooting up our chimneys, whatever that is. Does that make sense? But we're stepping back and we're saying, hey, here's an extra $1,000. Can you do something to make sure this thing is burning in just premier condition at this level? And that's always your silver level. It's what can I do to make it better? Sometimes that's an upgrade in parts and materials. You might have universal generic parts, and then you might have better parts. I know in air conditioning we have that a lot. You know, we can add things like hard strut kits and surge protectors and things of that nature, or sure switches and things that are actually an improvement to the actual quality of the parts. But the thing is just taking a step back. Hey, we've got more money. Can I do something extra? The big difference that we got to watch, though, is the difference between the gold and the platinum, because the gold and the platinum are designed to be essentially the same service today. So it's everything below them plus my best. And so this, what the gold and platinum does, if we're talking about a chimney here, so if this is your chimney, the gold and platinum is encompassing this whole thing. It says, hey, top to bottom, this whole area, if we're on interior, I need to use all of my time, skills, talents, and abilities to do everything we can possibly do to make this just flawless. So if there's any parts and pieces that we can take off, inspect, adjust, replace, let's do that. If there's anything that can be cleaned up, let's do that. even if it's difficult to access, even if it's dirty, even if it's annoying. Let's do that. Because what the customer's doing is they're buying our total attention and really our whole day a lot of times, saying, hey, I want you to go through this top to bottom, touch every single piece, replace anything that can be replaced, so that when you're done with this, you know that it's not going to have a problem, period. That's your gold option. The difference between the gold and the platinum is the platinum includes all of that, plus next year we come back and go through it all again. Not to do a service, but to go through it and make sure everything that we did is still right. And if any of it's wearing out prematurely, we just take care of it for free. And so it's a part of that service. We come out, we just take care of it. If we need to replace a part, we replace a part. And so that platinum, sometimes you look at it and you're like, God, that's a lot of money between the gold and platinum, because it's a percentage of the job. And so sometimes customers might be spending over $1,000 difference between that gold and that platinum. And you're like, all it includes is the 1 year visit. No. It includes total peace of mind, because we're saying we're not only going to come back, but if there's anything wrong with it, we're going to make it right. And so we have to collect a lot of money for that, because we got to make sure that we can afford to make those adjustments when we come back. Does that make sense? It's a big deal. So when it comes to the difference between the options, there's always a big mistake that a lot of us make. And we tell the customer, oh, well, this one comes with a 2-year warranty. This one comes with a 1-year warranty, something like that. But I want everybody to say this with me. Everybody say the difference between the options is never the warranty. It's important that you know that. At Comfort Class, you are not in the business of selling warranties. Now, if you are, then hopefully you have some third-party coverage like JB warranty or something like that. We can have some of those. But when it comes to the warranty that's on the options, we don't sell that warranty. The warranty is always a byproduct of better service. So when we do more of these things that I'm talking about, does it lower the risk of a failure? So if the risk of the failure goes down, that's why we can stand behind the warranties longer. And so the answer when we're talking to the customer and they say things like, all right, well, hey, when it comes to this, what's the difference between that gold, that platinum, and that silver? And so the simple answer is, don't fall back into parts and pieces. You can literally tell them what I just said. I'll say, well, you know what, Mike Day, that's a really great question. That top option there, like I talked about, that does everything. Takes care of all my concerns, so you just don't have to worry about this again. And that's why it comes with the 2-year warranty. Whereas when it comes to that silver option, we're not going to be doing the full services on it like we would like. But we are going to be focusing on just taking care of some of the basics and increasing the performance of it, so that hopefully you get some more life out of it. But that's why it only comes with a 1-year warranty. So what should we do? Does that make sense? That's all the difference I got to tell them. They could ask a deeper question, but if you don't overcomplicate it, most of your customers won't either. So it goes a long ways.
I would say I'm going to build a lot of videos on gas food, and when I go out there, I instantly get back or the gas one or the other. So when I give them these options, I tell them, hey, this is the bottom, and this will take care of this issue. But I am a little concerned about, this kind of past life might be 50 years before. And with these other ones up here above it, we can take care of everything all together in the platinum option. So I would maybe value set to a repair center to account for just show them those other options. They were I didn't get one person that really didn't go with the higher option. Because before I was just giving them just that option just right there to show them that one.
Yep.
But then when I gave them those other ones, it's a peace of mind thing. That one was a long way from say, well, how much is this replace?
Right.
And that's the bigger question you ask. But he didn't go for that. He didn't know it was going to be $1,000. But still, it made my ticket go up another $300 to $500.
Yep.
On every job. Peace of mind. Comes to
absolutely. But now just keep in mind though, Richard, as you walk through this, we don't want to push the customer up. We always want to start with this. Yeah. And so we got to start with, hey, and we don't want to create equality between them by saying things like, well, any of the options will get you by. Well, because then a lot of people will just focus on price. So what does the real focus need to be? It's got to be on cost. And so in which case, hey, this top option, it takes care of it. You don't have to worry about it. But, some people need to save some pennies here and there. And so we have cheaper options if you need them. And when that's the focus, we learned that a lot of people, it's difficult to get them to move up, but most people won't downsell themselves more than 2 or 3 options because of fear of loss. They don't want to lose that peace of mind and everything else as well. Goes a long ways. Any other questions? All right. Hey, if you got your tablets and you got the new flat rate app, if you can open the App Store. If you open your App Store and go to just search TNFR, did you guys already update it? Okay. He's looking at me funny, so I guess you already did that. There are some new changes there. Let me see if I can throw mine on this screen here. Can I throw my tablet up on this screen, Richard? What does it take to do that? Do I have to connect to Wi-Fi to put my tablet on the screen? Well, what's your Wi-Fi here that for my tablet to be on? CNC private?
Yeah. That chimney master. Here, I'll give you the password.
Okay.
Oh, you can just connect to the warehouse smart board. Oh wait, not the warehouse. Where's it at?
It might be in the warehouse, actually.
I don't want to do that. Is the Wi-Fi on this one?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so he's on
TNC
it.
private.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just connect to CNC private. Chimney master. How do you touch screen? Yeah. Where's the?
There we are.
There you go. Yeah.
Warehouse smart board or CSR office board or Richard's board.
Ooh, why
Try the
is it?
warehouse.
I don't think it
I
might.
don't think it is.
I think the warehouse one down there.
That's what I thought.
Why is that one not coming up here? Let me go in there. Should be Wi-Fi, right?
That's on.
Oh, that's Bluetooth though. I don't know.
Oh, I found it right here upstairs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, there it is. Got it.
You got it.
You did something that fixed it. Never works. Scam artist for what?
He charged our sweet inspection charge was $279. Inspection charge.
Why aren't you using the sweep pages? Because are they pre-selling them? Are they pre-selling the sweeps? So even then, even with sold ones, I still show them options for it. So I'll just show them the options with the bottom option being the sweep, and if the price is different, then we just adjust it with a coupon. So your options will go. They'll choose a lot more. Like you've seen it in duct cleaning, them picking higher options. They'll do it in sweeps too. That's just because of how the system's built, and so it just works there. But hey, going in just real quick. What's that? So I like cake.
Me too, man.
And my shirts aren't appreciating
Cake
that.
does the same thing to my butt.
It does. It's just there lately. That kept happening yesterday too on the airplane. I was like, goodness gracious. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks for looking out for me. Real quick though, we'll just dive through some of the updates. We made some changes with that update you just downloaded. First of all, if you go into your app in the training lab, we're fixing to make some big changes, but you'll actually see that all the videos now have thumbnail images on them. Makes it a little bit easier to see. We're fixing to replace all these videos as well. Not a huge deal. A couple of things in here, if you're not aware of them, in our terminology guide. The terminology guide, a lot of techs aren't aware it's actually a search engine now as well. So you can search actually parts, you can search verbal packaging, all kinds of stuff in here. And so I can put in things like a flame sensor and it'll pull up where in the program the flame sensors are if you scroll down to where it says task locations. So I can see, hey, furnace and gas heating, I need a flame sensor, and it'll show us where in the book that's actually located. If you didn't know that was there, it's there. But other things that happened, I don't know all of them. This just went live yesterday. But some things that have changed is if we go down and like I open up your chimney book now, we can come in here to pretty much anything, whatever it is. We can go into one of the options here. Keep in mind some of the things is when you're in here, you've got your levels. You can always just sweep left and right to switch between levels. You don't have to hit the buttons up top. But then also underneath the green line where you can trigger between your technician handbook and your customer description, there's a button that says clone and edit this menu that used to say edit this menu. Now it says clone and edit. Keep in mind that pay button generates a whole new page for everybody else to be able to use. And so that's designed anytime you've got a situation that's not specific to the job, but it's like, man, we will run into these chimneys that are made out of granite all the time. How do we work on this granite chimney? And you can write a granite chimney page. I know they don't really do that, but that's just the case. You can write a page just for that, so that next time Mike goes out there, now he's got the options and everything for that too. It's designed to be able to expand the book custom for your company is what that is. And so, but some other things that have changed, if you'll hit the button line on the bottom that says continue to presentation, generally in here, you should be in the habit of writing in where you're working, the fixture, and the fault type. So like in this case, it could be, living room, chimney, water protection system. And then generally you got to put something in the bottom there as well. You would pick one of these. They've actually made a change to where you can bypass that. But when you hit continue now, what changes is it's going to pull you directly to this page. There's no more having to hit the button in the top. It's just cut out a step completely. But you'll notice here, one thing that's changed is on the right side here, there's now a plus symbol. And so that plus symbol is if you wanted to add another page, you just hit that and it'll pull you back in and you add another one through that plus symbol real quick. Some other things is when you click on this and hits present this menu, you'll notice just like before, everything of course is touch sensitive, which options they want. We can hit that SA button if you've got a service agreement discount. If you guys have Optimus, the finance integration? No, okay. So if you did, then we've got payments actually available in there as well. But you've got your technician handbook. Everybody know where that's at by hitting the button up top. And so you can hit that and it pulls that out as well. But another new feature that just came up is right here on the right side of your option, whichever one you have selected, you'll see two little pages. And so you can click on that. And what it did is it just copied that option to your clipboard. And so, for example, I could go out of there. I don't know what's in my notes, but we're about to find out. Oh, nothing. Oh, that's from my little boy. He's kind of a dick, so I was worried about that. I was like, what does he bring up? But the point is, you can pull it up, and I can just hit paste, and boom, there's that option. That's there. What are you guys using for invoicing? Service type? So you guys have the API integration. It just moves over. But in the event that you needed to send something to a customer, you needed to text them something or send them an email, you can actually hit that copy button now and it'll just put it over so you can drop it right into something to make it faster, help you out. So that's just a feature that just came up. So, yeah. And so that's pretty much that. Adam, was there anything else in that update that I missed? Oh, it will. That's right. I've never seen that. We're gonna learn something else here too together. Here we go. I'm gonna grab another repair. I'm just gonna throw something in here. And I'm gonna throw something else in here too. So you're able to get them into your cart now. Or is it only if they're selected? Let me click on something here. I was afraid of that. Yep.
Because we didn't have anything selected on later that moved that H
To the beginning. Yeah, so it reorganizes them. But let me unselect them now. Yeah. They are kind of in order anyway. So it's ironically, it's supposed to put them in order of most expensive to least expensive too. But it looks like it does it according to what's the selection. So that's a little bit of an issue. You need to write that down. That's not what that was supposed to do. So anyway, but that's just one of the neat things that have happened with some of the updates right now. So to kind of take it to the next level, we've got a new update that's in progress for HVAC service system, where we're actually going in and updating the technician handbooks right now. We're adding a bunch of new specific pages and things that we're working on. So you'll get an update on that hopefully by the end of the quarter. That one will be done. And then we're going into some of the other trades as well. But we'll work with Richard and you guys on some things for your chimney book as well. Any questions? Was this helpful? Right? I like to celebrate aha moments to know that you got something out of it. So what did we get out of it today?
value to the customer.
What's valuable to them?
Close down. Take a breath. Yeah, that's a big one.
For whatever reason, the one thing that helped me a lot is I always felt like silence was uncomfortable. So we try to fill silence with ums and all kinds of things. But when we're talking to somebody that has to make a financial decision, what really helped me is understanding that their mind is never silent because they're always processing what you're talking about. And so they need time to process. So, like, even when we say, what should we do? I might stand there in silence for minutes. You know, I mean, hell, it could take them an hour for all I care. And I'm just going to stand there in silence because if it's actually taking a customer that long to answer my question, it means that they're moving money and all kinds of stuff in their mind and they're trying to figure out how to say yes to you. And because they want to say yes. And so silence isn't uncomfortable for the customer, it's only uncomfortable for us. And so once I really understood that, then it didn't make it less uncomfortable for me. It just made it tolerable so that I was okay with it. And so just to kind of help you as you work through that is just recognizing that they're not squirming in their seat. It's only us. And so it's there. What else? What can you use? Peace of mind? I gotcha. You guys deal a lot with warranties and stuff?
Most of the time, when stuff fails, it does fail.
Uh-huh. So how much do we charge for that? How much did it cost us to get there?
About our man hour.
You know what $315 is? That's the average cost of putting a service truck in the driveway for 45 minutes today, whether we do anything or not. It's how much money it costs your company due to the fact that we have to do things like marketing. We have office staff we had to deal with. We had a certain amount of time allocated to the job, whether it took us 5 minutes or 2 hours. It's that the time was already allocated. And so if we're only on a job for 5 minutes, we don't always have the next one queued up. Sometimes we're sitting on the side of the road, things like that. Does that make sense? And so today, the average company sees at least $315 is what it costs to put a truck in the driveway. And what that means is if we ever go into a job, and this isn't a poke at you, this is just in general. If we ever go to a job and in our mind it's something super simple, like just flipping a switch, resetting something, showing somebody how to do something that they didn't know how, it's important to know that it cost us real close to that number to get you there. And so if we collect anything less than that, then the difference comes directly out of what's called profit. Now, what is profit?
Money made past cost.
What's that?
Money made over the cost.
Yeah, so profit, or we would call it net profit, but profit is money that we use to ultimately benefit everybody. And so the thing is profit helps everybody. So many techs think that profit just means that richer gets rich. It's not that at all. Profit is where raises come from. Profit is where Christmas bonuses come from. Profit is where new trucks and tools and things like that come from. And so the lower a company profits, the suckier the company is to work for. The higher the company profits, the better it benefits everybody with just things that would make you love your job. And so it's everybody's responsibility to help maintain high profit. But it's important to know that when we go in, if we pick up $195 on this job, what that is 315 minus 195. And so that's like $120 comes out of the company profit to pay for that job. And that's equivalent to us paying to fix the customer's negligence. And so, question, why is it CNC chimneys or comfort class chimneys responsibility to pay the customer's bill because they didn't know how the fuck to use their fireplace? It's not. And it's just important that we know that. You know, and so you might say, well, but Matt, then why don't we tell them it's $315 over the phone? Because not every customer understands that. We use what's called a loss leader, which is a service charge to get our foot in the door and go out there. And a customer could say, no, I'm not going to do your services, and they could just pay us that. They could. But the thing is what we learn is when we're going there, it costs us money to get there. And so what I want to do is I want us to recognize, hey, in the event that we're not collecting that much or more on every single job, we're stealing from profit. And I got a question from you. If we were going to steal, in this case, $120 from profit, how much additional revenue would we have to pick up on future jobs? More so than we're already going to pick up from them. How much more would we have to charge them to replace the $120 from that job without affecting profit? That's a much better question, 2,800. And it's got to do with where our profit is in general. But example, wrong button, 120. So example, if comfort class runs a 10% what's called net profit, so if we run 10% net, which hopefully they do at just least that, though it's important to know that the average home service company is way less than that because they're not, because of what I'm telling you, because they're stealing money from it without realizing it. My target is for them to be at 25%. But if it's at 10% net, what that means is we've got to bring in a minimum of an extra $1,200 just to replace that money that we lost. And so that means that on all the other jobs we go on, we have to raise our prices to offset that. So next question. Why is it all of our customers' responsibility to pay for that customer's negligence? Shouldn't be, should it? But you see, in business, what we found is if we don't charge somebody, we have to raise our rates for everybody else. Because if we don't, what do we run out of? And if we run out of money, then what do we got to do? We got to find another job. And we don't want that for anybody. So when it comes to things like warranties and situations, a lot of times we bundle warranties and everything into the conversation of anytime we do something for somebody for free that we actually should have picked up money for. And the thing is we should pick up money anytime that there's a cost to us and it wasn't our responsibility to solve. That make sense? And so in my company, the change that we made is we say, listen, from this point forward, when you go to a job, I don't care what's wrong. But if you go to a job, it's something simple, it's an educational job, whatever, we have to find a way to pick up at least $315 or more. You have to. So if you knew that you had to charge $315 just to teach somebody how to use their damper, you might feel kind of bad about that. So I'll tell you, I'll say, I don't care what you have to do, but try to make it worth $350 for the customer. And better yet, try to do something that's also going to help make sure it doesn't happen again, or just to deliver value. So if I'm already going to be there and I'm dealing with like a fireplace, well, I can show them options to sweep it. Because does it need to be done anyway? Yeah, we know it needs to be done on a regular basis. Already there, let's sweep the chimney at the same time. Or maybe you don't have the stuff to do that. Maybe then I need to clean out the I don't know what you call this stuff. I can service it. I can clean it. I can do a camera inspection. What do you have that could let us take some more time? Because technically our company has already spent the time whether we use it or not. Does that make sense? And so at which case, we got to get out of the habit of thinking that our show up fee and a 1 hour's worth of time is ever an okay amount to charge the customer. You know? And so if I go to a job like that and it needs some customer education, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to educate them, and I'm going to educate them on something like a sweep. And so I can come in here and I can say, hey, all right, I took a look at it. And you know what? I'm a little concerned. There's some issues with your venting and things like that we need to talk about. But also, while I was checking it out, did run into some concerns in the exhaust removal system, where it really needs a restoration service and a full service on your chimney since I'm here anyway. So I don't want you to worry, but I got some options that'll take care of all my concerns, get your smoke issue taken care of, and I'll even teach you more about your fireplace since you're new in the house. Do you want to go over them? And you know what the customer will say? Yes. They'll say, we would love to, because they called you with a problem. And so then we just simply show them the options. We say, this one takes care of all my concerns, but I have other options if money is a concern for you today. What should we do? And that's that. And they'll pick one. And so like in this case here, even if they take my bottom option, it's $562. Did I lose money on that job? I made a little money. And so the thing is should we have made money? Absolutely, we should have made money. Because you want to get raises. You want your family to be okay. It all comes into that. What we've learned is one of the easiest ways to start making more money personally is just pick up money where we should have. Does that make sense? It's just charge the customers that were expecting to pay us anyway where we should have charged them. You know, and I'm all for helping somebody in need, but they have to tell me that they need it. Like I talk about widows, I go to a lot of widows' houses and they pay me a lot of money because I'm really good at talking about widows because they're important to me and me helping them make decisions and things. But I've worked for some. There was a widow lady lived across the street from me for 30 years that we did everything for free for. Why? She didn't have anything. She had nothing and no one, no family, anything. And she just wasn't, she had an adult child she had to take care of some things. And that was the right thing to do. Are you with me? But that's not all of them. Just because they're a widow doesn't mean they don't have the funds. Just means they might need some help, you know, taking care of it, but they can pay for it. And so don't make assumptions. Show them options. If they can't do anything, then we decide how much we can do for them. But most of them, if they called you, they're planning on writing a check. Fair enough? Richard, I didn't know if we have any more time. I know you told me an hour and a half and we've just pushed at that. So we good? All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. If anybody has anything, we're here to help. And me and Adam are here this week. So feel free to give us a call or a shout if we can do anything for you. Good luck. Share your wins with us. Look forward to hearing about them. See you, Tyler. All right.
So good. The biggest thing I'm trying to get you guys bought in more is to start using the options. You know, a lot of companies have an issue with that. They try to just pick one and just show just one.
Yeah, which is we kind of went over. I know you were in and out a little bit,
Yeah.
but we talked about some of the. So the reason they just pick one is they don't really understand what the process does for them. They think the process is about sales. And so the thing that I've really been focusing on lately that have felt has been really helpful that I went through your guys and these guys got it. Cody.
Cody, yeah. Cody's one of the big ones. You know.
He's a good guy, but he's typical in the world of doesn't really see value in doing extra.
He goes in his own way, like literally.
Yeah.
He does a lot of gas calls.
He's probably a great tech.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
We're trying to make him into a sales manager and all that other
But
stuff.
the big thing that I've been focusing on lately that you can work with them on too is this idea that everything up here solves the customer's cost.
Okay.
You know, all the frustrations in their life, all the pressure that this is causing on them that these guys don't really know about, you know? And then the bottom option is just if they need to focus on price. And then everything in between. As we go down, cost goes up, price goes down. As we go up, price goes up, cost goes down. But the thing is this saves me time, saves me energy, saves me effort. I mean, that's invaluable. You built this amazing building not because of price, you built it because of cost, because you wanted the relief of, hey, this is a great place to work. And so you've done that.
Yeah,
But-
that's what I was saying on the gas. Like we have gas. Like if I come to your house, hey, I got a pilot that's on, but I can't get the burners to come on. We'll do those a lot, and then we was doing before because we have them inside there in the module. Whatever that part is, and that part we do times 2.5, and then it take an hour to do. Then we present it that way. And I don't like doing it that way. I'll find it in the module and give them at least.
So they're not just showing the options
No.
and thing?
No, I haven't had Cody do that. Well, yet on certain, blah blah blah. But most of the time, he's one of the ones that'll kind of we
So he's just giving them one option.
every time. Just about. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
But Chad likes it. He's actually
Okay.
and Cody's our top. He's been
How
our top
often do you
sales
do ride-alongs with your guys?
I haven't. I do some with some of the newer guys. I haven't done one with Cody in a long time. Actually.
Should.
Yeah.
So.
With Chad and Devin, they're some of the newer ones,
Mhm.
and they are using it, and
Seeing
their
good
sales went
results.
through the roof
Yeah.
last month. Like he did.
The new flat rate outsells everything.
Yeah.
Like
so
it's incredible.
I don't know if they show all 5 options though, is what
Okay.
because I know we got the edit thing and all that.
So
But I know they're at least giving like 3 or 4.
Adam this week in the next 2 days is going to be talking about the importance of a full ride-along process in your company.
Okay.
But the thing is one of the big traits that we found is you've got to make ride-alongs a privilege, not a punishment.
Yeah.
If you don't do them consistently, then the guys feel like every time you're around, it's just because they're doing something wrong. But the thing is, we don't even necessarily do ride-alongs to tell them what they're doing wrong.
Well, we can tell when because we use Rilla. I mean, Rilla tells us.
I know
everything.
that you can, but the point is the ride-along isn't to tell them what they're doing wrong anyway. I think that's my thing.
Oh my God.
The ride-along is there to create this camaraderie of let's climb together. When you're on a ride-along with Cody, you can learn from him, but he should be able to learn from you.
Yeah.
It's hey, we're a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
And if you're never in the truck with them, then we always run the risk of resentment and bitterness of all he ever does is brings money back here, and he doesn't understand why you're pushing so much for money because he works his ass off and just brings back money.
Kind of in a nutshell. He's always been our top sales in the past 2 or 3 years, but then these guys
Coming up.
Oh yeah, they literally this one more than double than what he did.
Oh wow.
So, and it put a fire at times because he's always wanted to be the company.
Well, you show them. Hey,
Yeah.
that's because they're using the program we put together for you.
Yeah, and I mean,
But like he's the only one that had the question. He was like, well, we can't use the program because the tech handbook doesn't tell us all the things to do. And I'm like, well, regardless of that, this is what you're going to do. We broke down the what's in the options for the customer.
we can change
regardless
it.
of
If
parts.
it doesn't tell us what to do, let us figure out what we need to put in there.
And Adam took some notes, and I told him he can work with you to see if we can put more information in.
Yeah. And the
Right,
Sting
but-
reline is a tough one kind of because it's the same liner, but you got to bring value in other things. Like if I go to a platinum option, when I built it, I'm going to do an outside mounted cap that covers the whole chimney and whatnot.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So
Oh,
as you go-
I was with you with it, so I understand but what he's doing is he's taking the one thing
every time.
that he knows is the biggest pushback,
Mhm.
and he's using that to blanket the whole thing to create, oh, this isn't going to work. And so that's
They're
why,
buying from that other guy, 'cause they look up to him.
right.
Been here long.
And my mom always said misery seeks out company. So if he doesn't like it, then he doesn't want anybody to like it. Well, this is why you can't use it. And I was like, yeah, you can. Use this. So anyway, we'll
I have to
get
get him to add that dryer vent reroute thing. I didn't know that was in the plumbing section because we do a ton of reroutes, but we just have to make them up on our own. Because I built dryer vent cleanings in the chimney module, but I didn't build the reroutes yet. And I guess Adam built all reroutes in the plumbing, though. I guess.
I don't know what else he built. We built a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Adam's
I'll just
been
have
at
to see what is her name, Autumn or whatever.
I don't know if it's Autumn or whatever.
Autumn, yeah. She can move pretty much anything. So teach me about your board. Why do you like the vibe?
So it has everything built in it already, so I can go right to YouTube from it. I mean, I can do anything on it. It has it all built in, so I have all the modules. Got Teams. I can do Zoom right from here. And the cool thing is that camera right there.
Is that a part of it?
Huh?
Does
Yeah.
the camera come with them?
Yeah. Well, no, you can get it. It's like $300, but it's a follow camera. If I wanted to, it'll follow me.
Oh, nice.
So if you're a presenter, and then you can add other people on it whenever you want, and
Mhm.
that's what the Vibe Cast is. So if you have people that are remote, you can present, and then they'll be able to see exactly what's on your screen. And if you draw what you're doing, so if I wanted to have anybody on it, they can help me on here doing that. And then, I mean, there's multiple things. I have Monday, little sheets. I mean, we use Google a lot. You can do PowerPoints and stuff.
Just all from the board.
Yeah, and then it's a computer too. So literally, we have service site on here. And if I want, I can go. We do this every day with this. Like
How much is the board?
this board?
Yeah.
This is a 75-inch, so it's the biggest one they make. This one's about $5 or $6 grand. You know, the ones below, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 5 or 6 of these. So literally, and we go in here every day, just do jobs. That's what we did in that other room down there with Cody with them.
Yep.
And then he goes over and looks at the jobs. You can pull them up, you know, and just go.
So you guys see their whole day.
Yeah, you can see your whole day. Yeah.
Why do you share your whole day with them?
I only share it on this with them in the morning so they can see in the field. They can't see this. This is office view only. This is
Why do you share the office view with them?
We just go over the jobs really well. I mean, they look at it just to see what they're doing for the day, and just go, yeah. And I know what you're saying. I know what you're getting.
There's no reason to hide it from them later if you're going to show it to them in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, it
that's
just
some
causes
stuff
them
that
to
we
rush.
need to, yeah,
Because when you do that, what does it make the tech do?
they rush the whole day. And
Yeah.
when they get back here and
It's like, I got to get to that. I got to get to
he'll
that.
get here, he'll look and see he's got a full day, 4 or 5 jobs. He'll get back here at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the crap? And I look, like,
And he wants a pat. Hey, good job. You got your stuff done. Good job. That's what he's thinking. He's like, I win. I got it done. I was the first. I finished first.
well,
You
these
know?
are some of the things we might have to do, you know. So, like, we usually do 3 jobs a day. But if we got a day to where there's more than 3, like today, for instance, we just got done and they got a full day. Cody was probably like, oh, when are we going to get out of here? You know, because he's got these right here. So there's the air duct evaluation, this and this one. So what you're saying is because he knows his full day, he's having in the back of his mind all the time.
He won't use the new flat rate because he knows it.
Yeah.
Like he won't because he doesn't want to. Like he's using the excuse of, well, there's no difference, so why would I show him the platinum? But the real excuse is if they buy the platinum, I don't have time to do it because I have 2 other jobs. But in reality, they don't because I don't understand what I'm looking at, but let's just pretend that, okay, we got 3 service calls.
Yeah.
All of them are service charge onlys, you know, just service charge, go out there, look at it, and then go from there.
Let's just say chimney evaluation.
Okay. Well, the point is, let's say that I go to this first one and I want to show them options, but I know of these other 2, so I push them down. Well, let's say I don't do that. Let's say that I show them options and they pick the platinum, and that platinum is going to take me all day to do the job. Well, the thing is, so many techs don't want to risk that because they're like, well, what about those other jobs? You know, we got to get to those. But in reality, tell me, if I've only been to this, that customer took the platinum option, but what are these other 2 jobs on my board? What are they worth to us right now?
I mean, it depends on the job, I guess, really.
But what do we know about them?
We don't know anything.
So technically, they're nothing.
I mean, that one's a repair, so it shouldn't have been on there. Usually we.
But I'm just saying, pretend that they were all just chimney evaluations. Technically,
We don't know what they're worth.
nothing.
Yeah,
Because have you ever went to 2 or 3 in a row and got nothing?
Yeah.
I have. And so, at which case, but we have a customer here that's saying, here, there's $5,000. Do some work. And so that is the most important thing. And we call that camping. We show them one job today because we say, hey, you know what, Richard, we worked hard today to get you a great lead. I've got you a great lead this morning. Right now, it's the only one I've got on your board. I just want you to go there. I want you to camp and see if you can maximize this. It's a good customer, good opportunity. Go see if you can maximize it, and we'll go from there. But if you can show them options and they can sell out their day, that's great.
What is Rob's wife's name again? The red-haired tall lady?
Amy.
Amy, okay. So she told us, and this was before we've given this. She had this create this, so we only gave them one job, and all the other ones were floated in here.
Okay.
This is just a, I don't know how you want to say it, but just a, it's not a real person.
Okay.
It's just a fake where you put all the jobs and then you just fluidly put them as they go. Is that what you're kind of in a nutshell saying?
That's what we do, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't even care if you build out their day if they can't see
Yeah,
it. But if you're showing them ahead of time, it's there. But the real fix to these things is that if your office is under the impression we've got to get to all these, then
Yeah,
they're going to
that's
be
what they're like,
they're
too.
going to be communicating that to the tech. Well, we got other jobs. We got other jobs, and the whole thing comes down. It's been proven over and over again that the most profitable companies not only run one job at a time, they run less jobs per day and maximize those jobs. It's not about quantity, it's about quality.
Oh, yeah.
And we've
It's
got
just
to
we're
maximize
booked
each
up
spot.
like a month and a half.
Well,
and
who
then-
cares?
Yeah, I mean, I
So
get what
what's
you're
the
saying.
goal? To be a profitable company or to go check boxes?
Boxes, really.
But that's what you're doing when you say, well, we're booked out a month. I don't give a shit how far we're booked out. I might have somebody that calls in today and we're booked out 5 months and I'll put them on the next call on the board.
And they're just burning through them, is what you're saying, because they can see them all, so they're not
Right.
getting the value that's needed on each and every call because of them seeing like rush, right?
Yeah.
Man, okay.
But the office is the same way. Oh, we're booked out. We're booked out. No, I'm not booked out. The thing is, we're fluid, which means we get to who we get to, and we work on those jobs until we've maximized those jobs.
See, this is
Then we
where
go
my
to another
office, honestly, like I told you with my office manager, the reason why too is because we have a lot of scripts and they weren't using scripts at all. Like we have a ton of scripts and then they'd have to put them on. So the booking percentage went to 30-40%, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Usually we're at 70 or you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but in a nutshell, we need to build that too with them. Like, hey, we need to start using fluid dispatching. If you think we need to do some because I need to put some more time and training into them because they're our first line of defense. And if they're not booking jobs, then I'm going to have a lot of people go be successful somewhere else. I hate to say
Right.
it. But needless to say, I mean, if our phones are ringing and they're not converting, that makes it to where you see what I'm getting at.
100. Yeah. Our goal is 100% of the jobs should be booked, but we're not going to run them out. We're going to tell some people we're not going to make it to you.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, they don't like making that call. They're like dreaded.
Well, but it's not all of their job. It's one person's job. So, like, do you have one person that is your head dispatcher?
Yes.
It's
Amber.
that person's job. And if she did,
No, we made her our head dispatcher. She's the one that goes up because she's more. She's been with me 8 years,
okay.
so she knows.
But
the
can she
flow of
make
the
that call
calls.
that we're not going there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she would be able. She's wanted to. You know that. Yeah.
But she's the only one that's her job. She's,
Yeah.
you know, in essentially, we've got a big, huge board, you know, with all of our techs, all of our jobs, everything's on here. We've got this big, huge board, and then we've got 100 possible customers. The thing is the CSRs, they're just dropping people on all the time. That's their whole job. Book the call, book the call, book the call, book the call. Then Amber's looking at it, and she's just constantly evaluating. All right, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. Tomorrow, my guys need a place to go. Out of these 100 calls, where can I send them for success? I need one call for each tech. You know what? Cody's going to do really good with this customer. Let's collect that right there. Hey, Devin.
It's been terrible for us right now. I don't know if you've messed with Dispatch Pro and Service Titan.
The AI thing or something?
No, what it does is it basically takes exactly what you're saying, and you can put it if you want the person to, like, they'll all go and they'll reroute all the jobs as you want.
Yeah.
And put the money where your mouth would, or put it where if that person's the closest, it's going to go to him. But you can change it how you want. If he's got the best conversion
The
rate,
filters?
it has
Okay.
built-in filters,
Yeah.
and it'll change it on the fly for you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like location filters. I want
No,
trigger
you can
filters.
change it, to trigger it how you want. If you
Okay.
want it just like that person's an hour away and that other technician's next door, you're going to send that one that's an hour away because he's the best person to go out on that type of call.
Yeah.
You can do it that way if you want.
That's the way it needs to be.
Yeah. So.
But well, and the thing is, the closest makes sense when you have 100 trucks.
Oh yeah,
but-
Tommy showed. I saw his boards. He uses fluid dispatching like what you're saying. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how many dispatchers he has, but how he does it is.
Well, he's got like 200 trucks, doesn't he?
Yeah, more than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even know now, but his boards are different. He has a different login for each location. So
Right.
each service type location. But the cool thing is he got his dispatchers bought in to where if they actually have a move up revenue, and then if they do good, they get a bonus structure. So basically, if their percentage is better, and if they get like CSRs, whoever has the best booking rate is a person that's going to get the call first. It's
Right.
gonna go in rotation like boom, boom, boom. You
Oh,
know?
neat.
So it makes it in a way where he gets some more buy-in because if
And does
they
he
actually
bonus his CSRs based
Yes.
on how much revenue the techs bring in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the dispatcher, it's a win-win for the tech and the dispatcher.
That's
so
the way
if
I
she
do it,
does
yeah.
it and she moves up revenue and gets it to where a certain amount in a given week, then she gets a flat bonus fee, you know. And
Yeah.
then so the technician. So if he's getting work and being able to get more, you know, going in.
Well, and like on our pay scales, so I like to put dispatchers and CSRs on pay scales that match the techs.
Yeah.
And so like for most companies, most trucks break even at about $8,500 for the week. And so if a dispatcher says has 5 trucks under them, then if all the trucks are averaging over 8,500 for the week, then the dispatcher will get like $1 an hour raise for the week. If the trucks are doing averaging over 10,000, they'll get a $3 an hour raise.
I like that.
If they're
It's
doing,
the time and pay scale that you. I
but
remember that.
but based on the average of all their trucks. And so, but
I
what
kinda
you,
wish I would've went that route instead of just doing a flat thing because it doesn't. Once they get to that, if they get that, then they're not hungry to do even more.
what's your flat thing now?
Like $50 or whatever, 50 to show you it's like.
Well, you can change it. I got a vid. Have you seen my newest video I came out with a few months ago?
No, I haven't saw that.
I can send it to you. It's an hour, but it's excellent.
Yeah,
It's everything that you need in a pay scale to make it work. You've asked me that a few times. Will you stop bugging me? I don't have the keys. They're in my jacket.
Their bonuses are like this: quality control grade sheet. If they have a 70%, that's graded as 45. Booking rate. You see what I'm saying? And then missed calls though. If it's
Oh,
under
you just have
2%.
monthly bonuses.
Yeah. Well, we have monthly. These are weekly.
Okay.
The weekly's more of like a quality control to make sure they kind of gave everything to the customer what was needed. They had empathy. They you see what I'm saying? Did all of our process, and that's for a CSR 1. CSR 2 is
All these are CSRs. I got you.
Yeah.
Where's your
this
service
hybrid
techs?
Right here, this is hybrid as a dispatcher. Monthly bonus. They don't answer many calls at all. They're like the last one on the list, just in case. And then here's the move up revenue that we have: 8,000, 2,000, and we stopped at 12. So, and membership conversion.
But the move up revenue is if all their trucks are averaging that, right?
No. Now that you say that, that's only for one truck. If they have one, like how do you want to say this? Like, let's say, oh crap, it's raining and we can't do this 3-day job because it's rain. We need to find another job to move up to make sure that schedule's full. So if that job's $10,000 and she did all the due diligence, called the customer, make sure all the parts are there, everything's good to go, boom, 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 then she's going to get an extra $55 on her check. That's how that kind of works. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah. That just seems. I mean, it makes sense. It does. It's. Where did you come up with this yourself, or
No,
you
this,
got?
this is exactly what Tom knows. This was the company. This is straight from him.
Okay.
I'm not using it exactly, honestly, because
Well,
there's a lot of stuff that he's doing I cannot do.
It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I don't have a dedicated like he has so many people.
He's got HR people that track all that shit.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, see, the problem is.
All they can do.
So here's the thing. Anything like that, my problem is always if you're gonna make a pay system that works, it has to be simple to understand and simple to track. And
That's the
so
problem we've come up with. We've rolled this performance payout 2 times now. And we had to literally just.
it just doesn't work.
It wasn't just because we didn't get buy-in. It's because it was too complicated. They can't go home and tell their wife, "Hey, I'm getting paid this, this, and this." You know, so like for the technicians, it's I don't know. I don't think it's bad on the technicians. I like the installer pay. It's all billable hours. So like if I have a job and it has 10 billable hours and they get done in 15 hours, they're only getting paid for 10. But if they get done in 5 or 7, they have an extra hours left over. It's a 75-25 rule. So 75% of those leftover billable hours goes to lead tech, 25% goes to help. And that was easy for everybody to understand, but it was more or less this part, which is the level 1, level 2, level 3, their pay scale, performance pay, and it's jobs sold, all that kind of stuff. So that's what makes it a little tough, really. So we're trying to work through it though, and
Can I use it? Is this a restroom?
yeah, there's one there.
Some more questions. All right. microphone on? Am I going to take a peek? Does this have mics in the speaker in the room? Or
No,
no?
it should be fine.
Check, check, check.
I don't know how to turn it off. I'm trying to learn the thing. This is the first time I've actually used it.
Oh, neat. Does it make the camera track you too?
Yeah, the camera follows you around, you know, so it has a tracking. It'll go to whichever screen or a pan view, you know, where it's an overall pan.